Little Jameson and Pearl, my staff are bringing you all a goodie bag. Jameson, you need to know that I have 3 big sisters. They're awesome, although sometimes they can be bad. Pearl, you get to share that with your sisters, but you have control as a little sister. Mr. Greer, thank you for being here. You've done an extraordinary job, and there's nothing I can do in 5 minutes that would do justice to all the discussions I want to have with you about trade policy. North Carolina, more than 50% of our trade is Canada, Mexico, and China. And yet I am wide open to some of these innovative ideas to hold these countries accountable, because it could be some short-term uncertainty and gain. With the benefit of long-term pain, with the benefit of long-term gain. Just one question, Mr. Chair. I would like, with unanimous consent, to submit this commentary from Mr. Greer just recently on the posture that we should have towards South Korea. So, without objection.
Approved.
I'm going to give you a break, but all of the opening comments about the president creating uncertainty. Okay, let's talk about that. He threatened Colombia, if they didn't start working with the United States, that he was going to impose tariffs on them. President Petro said, no way. He decided he was going to go to the brink because of the illegal immigrants coming from Colombia. What turns out that, I know people said that the president blinked, but in this case, it wasn't President Trump. It was President Petro, and now he's showing some respect for our laws. President Petro, who was elected in 22, should probably also pay attention to an environment that would force families to make the dangerous trip all the way from Colombia to pay a cartel to come across the border to come to the United States. Maybe that president should not only work with the United States, but understand he's got fundamental problems that would cause responsible parents to do that. So get to work at home. Mexico, same thing. President threatened the uncertainty that was created over the course of 4 days, created the horrible consequence of 10,000 troops going to the northern border of Mexico. I hope the president threatens tariffs again and maybe send 5,000 troops to the southern border of Mexico so those people in Colombia cannot make that dangerous trip. Canada. If Canada had paid its fair share to NATO, I'm the Republican leader of the Senate NATO Observer Group, have been since 2018. If Canada, in this century alone, the last 24 years, had paid their fair share to NATO, we would have $1/3 trillion in modernization and readiness that doesn't exist because they are a laggard. They are also taking advantage of our border, and they are taking advantage of trade agreements. Putting them on notice, I think, is necessary because they're acting like petulant children, because they're north of the U.S. border, the most powerful nation on earth, and they're taking us for granted. And I think you're going to find very specific examples of where they've done that on trade, and that's where we need to tailor, I think, our agreements. South Korea, you've very articulately in your commentary have identified the threat there and the way that they're trying to counter unfairly, I believe, our big tech and high tech in general businesses, and some in their own country, and silent on China. And then finally, China. You know, at the end of the day, we know in North Carolina, if we get into a broad-based trade war, we're going to get damaged, particularly in North Carolina. They're going to close off access to their markets for pork and chicken, et cetera. But we have to hold them accountable, folks. I have seen counterfeit goods that have killed people coming from China. They're stealing our intellectual property theft. They're stealing our ideas. They're making it cheaper. They're, in many instances, less safe. And I believe that under your leadership, we will tailor it. Everybody that's got this false narrative that we're just going to do blunt force tariffs across the board, it's illogical. If we did that, we're going to have to discount, to Senator Johnson's question, discount the net revenue, because it's got to be net of retaliation. But I have confidence in you, Mr. Greer, to provide the advice to the president to get this right. It is time for Europe. It is time for Canada. It is time for China. It is time for the countries of South America to understand where we've been treated unfairly, we no longer will, and I look forward to supporting your nomination. And kids, your dad's done a good job.
Thank you very much.